What's up, you guys? This is JP, and today we're going to talk about combining exercises. Okay, so you guys have probably done a program yourself, or you've seen someone do this, or maybe you've just winged it from like a YouTube video and have done an exercise where you combine multiple exercises into one exercise. There are a lot of examples of combining exercises that are common. One of them is a bicep curl to an overhead press. This is a very common one. You'll see people take dumbbells, they'll curl it, and then they'll press it overhead. Another kind of common one is a lunge to a curl. People will do like a reverse lunge, and then they'll curl the weight up. Another example is doing, a dumbbell bent over row, or a dumbbell RDL combined with a row. Where they'll do the RDL with the dumbbells or a barbell, they'll row it, and then they'll go back down, and then they'll RDL it back up for kind of two combined exercises. Now, when people see this and when they see exercises like this, and I'm gonna segue into something a little bit more global, but one of the things that people get attracted to when they see exercises like this is it's a novel exercise. There's novelty to it, it's new. And when something is new, people get attracted to it, they wanna do it, they get excited, because again, that's just how people are wired. They like new things. Think about movies that come out. You like new movies, the new phones, the new video games. Phones is a good example. Every year they come out with a new phone, and for some reason people are just magnetized to it because they want the new thing. And that same concept applies to exercises. People see something new and they go, oh, I want to try that, or I like this program because it's new. And whoever's program it is, they start combining all these things to make it a new, unique exercise. But while that might, increase adherence, and again, by all means, have at it. If you understand that that's not the best way to train, but you just have fun doing it, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. You should continue to do that if you understand the drawbacks of doing that. But a lot of people do these combined exercises thinking it's gonna get them more gains when it's not. So we have to start at one of the most important things that you need to make gains in strength development, power development, or hypertrophy, gaining muscle, and that is you have to have a sufficient amount of mechanical tension for that muscle group, okay? So if you're not having sufficient amounts of mechanical tension, you're not gonna recruit all the motor units for that specific muscle, which means all the muscle fibers in that muscle are not gonna be subjected to that mechanical tension. Essentially, if the weight is not heavy enough for a muscle, you're not gonna get all of that muscle involved, which means not all that muscle is gonna grow, and you're gonna be leaving gains on the table. That's for hypertrophy. For strength and power development, it's obviously load specific. If you want to get stronger, you need to lift heavy for that specific exercise. Now, knowing that mechanical tension is important for hypertrophy, power, and strength. How much weight you use actually matters. You can't just use light weights and have really good form. You could still be leaving gains on the table, which is why I'm not, a big advocate on overly trying to do absolute perfect form. Of course, you want as perfect a form as possible, but again, trying to do too perfect form at the sacrifice of loading probably is a bad thing, but that's a point for another video. But let's go back to our combined exercises example. When we're doing a bicep curl to an overhead press with dumbbells, one thing you need to realize is you're using one load for this exercise. You're gonna, most likely, for 99.9% of people, you're going to be able to dumbbell overhead press more than you can curl. So what load are you picking? Are you picking the load that's going to be hard on your pressing musculature, your shoulders, your triceps, and your chest, which means that it would in turn then be too hard for you to curl if you're using appropriate loading for an overhead press? Or are you using loading assigned for the curl, which again, if you're picking the load based off how much you can curl, then it's obviously going to be too much, or it's obviously not going to be enough for your pressing musculature or your overhead press. Essentially, the weight that you would pick for a curl is too light for your overhead press, and the weight that you would pick for your overhead press is going to be too heavy for your curl, and vice versa. And that goes for the other examples I use as well. If you're doing a bent over row and RDL combined, if you're doing a lunge to a curl, it's probably not enough. Think about it. If you're lunging with 25-pound dumbbells and you're doing a reverse lunge and you're curling, during that curl, it's probably not going to be enough for the lunge. You probably could have loaded it more, which means that you probably can't curl it. So what's happening is, one of the exercises is essentially taking a back foot, and you're essentially shooting yourself in the foot on one of those exercises in every single one of those examples. Now there might be some off example where you could make it so that it works for both, but that would be you know, a specific type of scenario. And again, there's exceptions to everything. Like for example, a good example which I thought of when I was thinking of this would be the bicep curl to the overhead press, but with a band. Now, in my opinion, it's still gonna be a little finicky and I don't think it would work. But again, as you stretch the band from here to here and from here to here, it gets harder and harder. So it's hard right here, but it's even harder for here, so the tension is getting higher as you're going from the curl to the press. So there might be some exceptions where it would work, but for the most part, when you're combining exercises, one of them is just not getting trained properly, or you're not applying sufficient amounts of mechanical tension. The best thing you can do is to structure your program differently. If you want to combine exercises, antagonist pair sets are a lot better, and I've done a video on that. Even supersets will be better than that. Or, you know, instead of doing APS sets, you could do like I don't know what they'd call, like a contralateral superset, where you do like an upper body exercise, short rest, or immediately followed by a lower body exercise. You know, you might be fatigued globally, but you could probably load each differently, and because they wouldn't use the same load for each. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. If you guys like this video, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. For other fitness related content, go to my website.